Hello and welcome back. We're here to talk some movies.
We are.
Mm-hmm. I hope you enjoyed Guilty Pleasure Month. I had a lot of fun. I would like to keep going, but we're out of that theme. We're out of it. Just rock on with our lives. This time we're going to talk about a movie that's legit good, for legit good reasons. I have nothing bad to say about this movie. I love it so fucking hard. Taika Waititi's What We Do in the Shadows. Okay. So, it's
15 minutes of just,
I love this movie so hard.
Let's try to keep it under 2.
I'm gonna keep it revved down, but the love that I have for this man it's just astronomical.
And Jeanette brought her dog again.
I love
him.
He's a good boy. He
great.
loves us and he loves the videos.
That's
okay.
great.
So What We Do in the Shadows. It's filmed. It's okay. I don't know if you guys know what mockumentary as a genre is. Like, this is Spinal Tap, Best in Show, that kind of thing, where it's filmed like a documentary, but it's so fake. Like, it's not a real thing at all, but it's filmed like it is a real thing. The premise of this one is that in New Zealand, in modern day New Zealand, just go with it.
There's a place called New Zealand. Why do you have to go with that?
The vampires.
Just go with it. There's this place.
No one lives over
magical land.
This magical land called New
Zealand.
Okay. So Taika Waititi is from New Zealand. He directed this movie. It was a New Zealand film. Like, the whole thing is New Zealand. It was set and filmed and everything New Zealand.
And the best band in the world from New Zealand.
Fly to the freaking Concords. Okay, because Murray. All right. So it's mockumentary.
Not Jermaine Clement at all.
Not
Just
Jermaine
Murray in particular. Murray.
Murray's there. I love Murray.
Oh.
Murray needs more
Work.
Murray needs more work. Yes.
Oh God.
Murray. Where's Murray's Oscar? Brett has one and Jermaine has one. But where's Murray's? Okay. So
Brett McKenzie and Jermaine Clement are the two people from the band Fly to the Concords, which then later became a TV show.
Look them up. They're so funny.
And that's where Murray came into the mix.
The show was great.
Have him.
All right. So
there's a movie.
The mockumentary is this. There are vampires living in modern day New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
The vampires living in modern day New Zealand, they're gearing up for this vampire ball thing. So the documentary is watching these vampires go through their everyday lives, the modern day everyday lives in New Zealand, while gearing up for this ball. The vampires live together in an apartment. There's 4 of them at first,
There's
and then
4, and then
there's-
they lose one.
yes. It's the storyline.
There's 3 main ones, and then there's the 4th one that's just there for added.
Yeah, which is hilarious because he's straight up Nosferatu.
Yeah,
Like,
and he lives down in the basement.
He lives in the
all
basement.
The time.
He eats chickens.
Yeah.
But the other 3, they live relatively regular lives. They come out at night because they can't come out at the daytime, but they come out and they go to bars and they go hang around and they do stuff, and they're goofy. They're so goofy.
Well, it's funny because it's supposed to be a documentary on their life, but they're so fucking boring. And, they're just the most boring people you'd ever fucking meet, but they're, you know what I mean? They think they're interesting because they're vampires.
They're vampires. Well, like, the one is like, you know, when you're a vampire, you are very sexy, and he's just kind of dressed like a medieval peasant. Like, there's nothing super special about it.
Right.
Honestly, Taika Waititi is a really cute man.
So cute.
He is the cute. He plays Viago.
Well, his little nose
And
is so long.
He's just the cutest man.
I like
He
the
was
other
on
one
planet.
better, though.
He was a dandy back in his day, and that's why he wears all the...
just a little bit
They
foppish.
called him
a little
that,
bit.
and he wears like the lacy...
He's very like, I'm gonna wear my cravat and like my like.
No, the one that wears the leather pants is my favorite.
The one
he's
with,
fucking hilarious.
He's so funny.
Oh.
The movie is really funny. These
But how can you
vampires.
love like Jermaine Clement being like, I am...
What, Vlad?
He's
Vlad.
Yeah.
He's like 16. They called him the poker.
He used to torture people.
It's so funny. It's like the writing is really top notch. It's about these vampires just trying to live their lives.
It's very slow at the beginning.
Yes.
And they're just going through their day.
You have to get into it. And it's very like, this is the scariest part of the day. Do I open the curtains? Please be nighttime. It's nighttime. We're good. And
but
like,
I mean, there's so much stuff you have to be sure to set up, though. Like, you have to
Yes.
have those cards at the beginning that are like, the people filming this documentary were given, you know, safety
these
to
guys,
not
they're
be
not
killed.
gonna get hurt. They can film
You know?
the thing.
We need that.
And we
Right.
see these vampires do their hunting, do their killing, do, their vampire thing.
Which they're not good at. It doesn't make sense for them to not
There's
be good at it. They're like a billion years
where
old.
Taika Waititi is
God.
He's like, I don't like mess. We have to make sure that we put down the newspaper. And so he's got this date that he's brought home, and he's totally going to eat her. But he's like trying to have this normal conversation, like, oh, what are you going to do with your degree?
He
wants her to have a good time.
You
try to make it nice. But while he's talking to her, like, yes, tell me what you're planning to do with your degree. Just put this newspaper down.
He's like putting down towels.
He's putting down, and then he bites her, and there's just blood everywhere.
Right, and then he's like,
well, that was a mess. It's just so well.
But like, you'd think he'd know how to do it.
You'd think by now he's been a vampire for 200 years. Like,
right.
What?
Like,
and he's got a love story. His character has this girl that he fell in love with back in 1920 whatever, and he tried to follow her from Europe, but the guy in Germany that was his servant dude,
Didn't he put him on the wrong boat?
He put the wrong postage on, and so shipping the Count's box took like 6 months or something. And by the time he finally got to New Zealand, she was already married. Like she'd already moved on, and so he just, well, I guess I'm stuck in New Zealand and I'll love her forever, but I don't get to have her, kind of thing. And so he has a tragic love story that he's got to work on. The other guy, he has a girlfriend that they have this really tempestuous relationship.
Oh yeah, that is him.
That's
Vladislav.
Vlad
Vladislav the Poker. He had this girlfriend that they fight, they claw, they get back together, they fight, they claw. It's kind of like Ron Swanson and Tammy Swanson. A little bit that relationship. It's not healthy at all.
Specifically Parks and Rec. That's where we go.
Y'all know Ron Swanson because
New Zealand Vampire.
New Zealand Vampire equates with Ron Swanson.
Okay.
So you're watching these vampires, they're doing their vampire thing, it's hilarious. They bring in a bunch of people to have dinner, and they're going to eat them all. Like, this is definitely the plan, is after dinner we're going to eat all of these humans. And there's this very exciting chase scene where the main guy is like, this is fucked up, I'm leaving! And he tries to leave Nick. He tries to leave, and the camera's like chasing after him, and he's like, stop fucking filming me, I have to escape! They don't catch him, he runs away, but Peter catches him, Peter the creepy in the basement. And so Peter turns Nick into a vampire. They think that he's dead. They think that, Peter just...
Right. And he's just kind of a dick. Man. He's just kind of like a boring dickhead.
Yeah.
Like, and so they don't want him in the group. But...
Yeah.
But I mean, the movie is showing us important things, like what we would really go through.
Right.
If
like
we
how
really became a vampire.
Like trying to learn
how to
fly.
He goes to the hospital, and... like, hey, something's going on with my neck here. And the hospital's like... You don't have a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's legitimately... He's, like, shivering on his ceiling, being like, you guys don't feel cold? Like,
right.
But, I mean, at the same time, you also have...
There's a scene where he goes out to a bar with the vampires, and they have fries on the table, and he eats a single French fry, and they're like, oh, God, don't! And he's like, but fries, chips. It's my favorite
chips.
food. Like, chips is great. And then there's a scene, like, the
Immediately
split second later,
scene.
he's outside just projectile vomiting blood.
And they're
because
playing Paul
vampires,
Simon in the background.
Yes. It's so funny. This movie is hilarious.
God.
And he ends up having a fight. They turn into bats, and they fight as bats, and the guy goes, bat fight! And it's just... This movie, there's so many moments.
It's all small stuff.
It's all small stuff.
It's just a movie of just,
it's
like,
all
small stuff. So
small stuff. And I love the werewolves.
Oh,
the werewolves are adorable. They're led by Murray. And Murray is very like, we're going to be polite.
We have to find out his real name.
Yeah. He's the cutest thing. He's the cutest thing. And I just, this movie is hilarious.
Keep talking.
We have to fix this.
Ignore me!
Yeah, ignore that. Okay, so I hardcore recommend this movie because it is a solid mockumentary. The characters do feel like they're doing stuff that they would do in these circumstances. I like Stu. Stu is there. Stu was not supposed to be there. They just kind of absorbed him. They absorbed Stu.
Because Nick has a best friend named Stu. And so when Nick turns into a vampire, he's like, he has basically a coming out moment.
He has, I have to tell you, I'm a vampire now, and Stu's like, oh.
Yeah, and so...
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine, I get it.
And then Stu gets involved, and the vampires love him, because Stu's explaining how to hook up to the internet. Like, Stu was like, you gotta get into the 21st century, and now they can, like...
Right.
Get out into the
and
world
that's the whole
a little
thing is, like,
more.
he's an incredibly boring person, but because he knows technology thing, they're like, whoa! And they think he's, like, the craziest, best person in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time he comes over, Stu! Like, it's just like...
And, like, the one guy is, like, knitting him a sweater, and it's just really sweet, and then the werewolves attack.
The werewolves don't attack. The werewolves are changing because of the...
They come upon the werewolves in the middle of the night after they've been out partying, and the werewolves are tying themselves to trees, like, hurry up and tie yourselves up, we don't want to turn into werewolves.
They're literally chaining themselves.
And
they're trying to be
werewolves are being really cool about this.
Don't wear those pants. You're going to ruin those pants.
You're going to break right out of those pants. Just take them off, man. Just... So they're trying, but then they start turning, and they're like, oh shit, it's too late, run! And, well, Stu is human. He can't fly away like a bat. And they get him. His claws. And so we think Stu is dead, and it's very, like, the vampires are very sad about it, and they have, like, this very mournful moment where, like, they put the sweater in the pond and let it sink away, like, adios, Stu. And then Stu comes back because he's a werewolf now. He didn't die when he got mauled. He just got hurt, and then he's
got changed.
Yeah, he turned into... So he's alive. He's got a badass scar on his face now, but he's...
And he's the bridge between the vampires.
Yeah, because they hate each other.
And now they're not going to fight anymore. Now there's not going to be this epic fight between the werewolves and the vampires. And this movie is really funny. Like, it takes a lot of the classic vampire lore. Yeah, it takes a lot of the classic lore, and it just kind of modernizes and twists and upends some things.
It takes the stuff from this old time, and it puts it into a modern day setting, and it makes you think what would happen if
like
this
how
were
would
really
it
going
work?
on. It's the social interactions. Like, for example, like living with a flatmate, as they say. You know, you have to do the dishes. You haven't done the dishes in 5,000 years. I should do my dishes. And then they start fighting. You know, or it's like things like that, where it's the tension between the real people, or it's Vladislav not wanting to go to the ball because someone else was given the honorary award of being best vampire that year.
He heard it was his turn to be the best vampire.
He heard a rumor.
And then it turns out it's his ex-girlfriend that he fights with who is the vampire of the year thing.
And so he
don't
want to go.
Yeah, don't want to go. Just don't want to enjoy that at all. And
then he shows up at the end anyway.
Yeah, he shows up at the end. There's some fighting. It's pretty good.
I don't remember how the fucking thing ends. Doesn't it just end?
It ends with they weren't supposed to bring Stu, and so there's a big fight at the ball itself because they weren't.
Because they brought a human into a vampire nest.
Yeah,
and they're like, "How do we know he's not a hunter?"
Yeah,
and they're gonna kill him.
Then I don't remember what the fuck happened.
And then, the Viago ends up with that lady.
Yeah, Vlad shows up and he defends Stu. They get Stu out of there. Then the werewolf thing happens after that. And then it's the reveal.
That's why they were happy.
And they're partying at the end together. The werewolves and the vampires come into the house, don't pee on anything. And they have a friendship moment at the end. And it's the seal up of
Taika Waititi has found... Her name was Catherine, I think. The lady that he was in love with back in the 20s. She's 94, whatever it is. I don't remember what her name is.
I remember her name?
I think it's Catherine. But I'm sorry.
I don't remember.
He finds her, and she's an octogenarian now, and he breaks into her house and he gives her flowers. Like, he comes at her like this.
He doesn't break into her house.
Yes, he
waves at her.
You have to be invited in.
Well, he goes inside and he is on his knees with flowers, and then he turns her. She's again like 90 years old, and he turns her and he's like, "Finally, I have the woman that I've been in love with for this whole time." And she's like, "Well, he came and he told me he loved me, and he was still the same man I loved before, and well."
And I mean, some people say
that now she's trapped as an 80-year-old woman
forever. But she has this super hot, cute boyfriend. So she's willing to make that sacrifice.
I mean, all the things that you would be upset about for being old, she won't have anymore, like pain in your wrists. She's not gonna have.
She's not gonna have the blind.
If you think about it,
she's not. Yeah, and again, she's got this man who is completely devoted to her, like he has been for nearly 100 years. So. you know, and then they do have that joke about, he's like, you know, I know that people say that I'm robbing the grave or robbing the cradle because she's only 94 and I'm 150 or whatever.
But age doesn't really matter.
Age doesn't really matter. You know, I don't think that it doesn't matter that she's that much younger than me. And I'm just kind of like, oh, it's sweet. It's sweet. And they're happy together and it's cute. And again, Taika Waititi is funny as hell. Yeah. I really like him.
Well, he's just adorable. Like,
he is.
He's so funny. Like, Ragnarok is...
He is, yes. Ragnarok is my favorite Thor movie, just on the basis of it being so much. Like, it's so
well, okay,
enthusiastic.
Jeff Goldblum doesn't fucking help.
Jeff Goldblum, Loki is bad. Loki in Ragnarok.
I don't feel like
is
you guys
my favorite
how you're talking about
of,
Ragnarok now.
Taika Waititi directed it. Okay, he did.
There you go.
Taika Waititi. The man is talented. The man has directed multiple movies, and again, he is just the cutest thing in the history of the world. He's just adorable. He is an adorable man.
Yeah. They're making a new one. It's like a new show. It's just, but I don't know if
they already are.
They are?
They are, yes.
I don't know.
Because
I got confused because they were talking about it on Jimmy Fallon, and I was like, this movie came out like 3 years ago. What are you talking about? And then,
Yeah, no, it's a TV show. And it's, some of the people from the movie show up in the show. Like, they're not the main characters. Now it's Matt Berry doing his thing, because it's like, the show is set in America instead of New Zealand, so it's like the American chapter kind of
Matt
thing.
Berry?
Matt Berry from
Matt Berry is one of the vampires.
Archie Crumb.
Yeah.
Matt Berry, who's English?
Matt Berry.
Is in an American version. Yeah. I mean, I love Matt Berry, don't get me wrong.
I don't know where... surprised to see him.
I don't know where exactly this is set.
That's why I was confused. You said it's an American show.
I don't remember what city, but I do know it's in America.
Okay.
I don't know.
And I mean, I'm there for Matt Berry.
There's this one episode where they bring up, they're like, and now it's like the council or whatever, and they're like, and here's all the council members that could be here, and like Wesley Snipes is there, and Paul Rubens is there, and they talk about Kiefer Sutherland, and it's just, it's funny. They just bring in all the, I think it's good, and the movie, the original movie, is top tier comedy.
Well, that part
good.
Where they're chasing him through the house and they're like flying awkwardly, but you can
and the
tell
music is like
yeah, and then you see Jermaine Clement, who is half of a human with
yeah. You open the door.
No, that's a really important.
And that's a thing. Jermaine Clement.
He can
Vlad
change.
used to be this great transformative thing. Like, he could turn into bats and bears and monsters, and that was one of his talents back in the Middle Ages, but now that he's had this bad breakup, it was a loss of confidence thing, and so he can't really turn into anything anymore. He can try, but he's never quite complete.
He's 98%.
He's 98%.
With a human face.
And so the guy is running, and he like opens the door, and you see this
a
black cat
with Jermaine Clement's
face just kind of like
like
hissing at him.
Cackled. I almost peed myself.
Legit
it was so
funny.
And then for Christmas, I'm so mad I didn't buy it.
Yes.
On Etsy,
Somebody
someone had
made
it. It was an
Jermaine
actual
Clement
little
cats
Jermaine Clement
with
cat
face,
thing with
little
Jermaine
mustache.
Clement's face with little mustache.
Oh my god.
It was $100, and I was like,
Yeah.
I cannot, in good conscience, buy $100.
Did you take a screenshot and can you contact them and ask them?
I wanted to, but
they'll make it again. Beg
God.
them.
Yeah. And it's just little.
Like, it's so good, and there's like little,
there's little jokes here and there. Like,
I bought you that mug.
I want to do my dark bidding. What are you? Let me do my dark bidding on the internet. What are you bidding on? I'm bidding on this table. Like, it's just little
dumb
jokes
little
throughout.
stuff. It's fucking hilarious.
You know.
Yeah, no, I bought you that mug for Christmas.
I have a mug
where
werewolves,
not
not swearwolves, and that's because that's one of the things. The werewolves are really cool. The werewolves are really trying to be good people.
They really are.
They're
and
really...
then you make them angry, and then that guy's like, and he's like, his
you.
whole face starts trying to change.
Yeah,
and he's like, no,
calm down,
back,
calm down,
keep it back.
And yeah, the werewolves they're really chill people. They're really one of my favorite things about the
guy
movie.
with the leather pants, I forget his name, but he's the one that starts the fight with him. He's
the
like,
fight.
hey guys, don't catch fleas, like as they're walking past, and he's like, what you say, mate? And it's just,
the rivalry there.
Yeah. They weren't trying to start a fight, and even Vlad was like, there's going to pass by some werewolves now, so some shit might go down, and you're just like, oh shit, like. And yeah, the vampire's the one that started the fight, if you think about it. So it's like, it's not the werewolf's fault.
Well, he's the youngest one, and they talk about him as like the hothead, and like he's the young immature one. Even he's like what, 600 years old or something, but he's still the young, immature one, like the hot one.
I remember watching this with Dad.
Yes.
I remember the part where he talks about becoming a vampire. And he's like, I was peddling my wares. And I walked, and they show a picture of him in just this ridiculous pack. Felt like medieval times. I was peddling my wares, and I see this creepy castle, and I'm walking past the castle. And then he talks about this creature was flying at me, and it's building up this classic,
This monster came at me.
Yeah. And he said, ha, now you are a vampire. And they pull back, and it was Peter.
And now we're friends!
And we're still friends to this day. My dad fucking lost it. It was hysterical.
It's the humor is just top notch. The part where the police come, because, my god. Okay, a hunter breaks into the house. The new vampire, Nick, doesn't know how to keep his fucking mouth shut.
He doesn't know how to deal with being a vampire.
He doesn't know. He's walking around like, Twilight? I'm Twilight. And it's like, shut up, Nick! And so
you're not Twilight. Stop telling people Twilight.
Stop telling people Twilight. And he's just walking into a bar, being like, "Hey, I'm a vampire now." And like people are, and there's a scene where he's at the bar and he's talking to this dude, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm a vampire." And the guy's like, "Hey, I'm a vampire hunter." And they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, that guy wasn't lying. He's a vampire hunter." And so one of the things that happens in this movie is all of a sudden there's just this unholy shrieking from the basement, just yeah. And they go look, and the basement's on fire because the vampire hunter broke into the basement, and the sunlight is now streaming into the basement where this 1,000-year-old vampire, 900 and whatever, Peter, is this Nosferatu thing is like shrieking, and he's in flames. They're like, stop, drop, and roll! Stop, drop, and roll! And he can't because he's on fire because of the sunlight. And so Peter dies. Like, you see Peter die, and he dies because of Nick telling this vampire hunter, there's a vampire here. Well, the cops come because somebody calls them because there was some shrieking and some fire.
What does he say to them? He's like, you will not see anything out of the ordinary?
Yeah,
or
you will see
anything like
nothing
that?
out of the ordinary. And, like, there's a vampire on the ceiling.
And he's so worried about it because he hasn't done a charm in a while.
I hope they don't catch me, because if they catch me, then we'll have more police here. I hope we don't have to kill them, because then we'll have more police here, and then possibly Christians, which is the last thing that we need in this house. It's so funny. And the police are, like, looking at the ceiling. They got their flashlight, and they're like, hey, you see this? And there's a vampire in the corner of the, like... And they're like, there's no smoke detectors. You need to put some smoke detectors in here. And they go to the basement, and they're looking, and there's literally a dead man on the floor. The hunter is dead. He's had his neck broken. And they're just kind of like, there's some debris here. You should move it. It's not safe. There's some rags and stuff. You should put a smoke detector down here, too. And it's just,
you don't
it's
have a fire
funny.
extinguisher.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And the police finally leave, and everything is fine. They didn't get in trouble. They didn't get caught. The charm worked. And then they kick Nick out. They do like a circle of shame where they're all like, shame, bad vampire, bad, and they kick him out, and because he led the hunter there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then he yet again crosses the line. That's the thing. Nick is the one that always crosses the line.
Yeah.
So they had this.
He's new. He's very new.
And they had this lady that was helping them clean their stuff and iron their clothing and stuff. And she was
doing it with the promise of, you will turn me into a vampire here in a couple of years.
And they just never did.
Yeah.
And so then Nick changes her, and they see her at the party at the end, the final masked
she's at the
ball.
vampire party.
And they're like, hey, you're not supposed to be here. And she's like, yes, I am, because I'm a vampire now. Look at me.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, you crossed the line, Nick.
Yeah,
and then that's
done
when
it, Nick.
Nick has yet crossed yet another line, which is to bring a human to a vampire zombie bash.
Because Stu was there, and you're not.
And one of the zombies is like, are you pre-deceased? What's happening? And he's like, I should go now. And it's just like, oh no.
And then stuff starts going
the
down.
whole party kicks off.
This movie, it's very slow. It's very, it builds up.
It's worth it, though.
It's
very so
worth
funny.
it. It's so funny. It's legit. Like, the fact that they're taking this traditional vampire lore and they're poking fun at it here and there.
Mm-hmm.
It's
the
hilarious.
practicalities of what
Yeah.
would really
But
happen.
it's also
how it
so
worked.
awkward. The entire fucking thing is just them being fucking weird and awkward.
Like, there's this scene where they're talking about how they can't go out partying and look in a mirror and see how well they look. They have to tell each other how well they look, and they have to like sketch each other and be like, "This is what you look like." Like it's a dressing montage scene where they're like, "Yes, I call this look dead but delicious." They're so funny. I can't with this movie.
Yeah.
The dialogue in this movie is pretty funny, and the acting is pretty funny, and like the bat fight. I remember the first time I saw this movie, I could not stop laughing just because the image of these two bats just going "Bah!" because they had a.
Well, Nick kept telling everyone it was a vampire. Like, stop telling everybody you're a vampire.
Yeah, and so they got into a fight, and it's just the fact that they both turned into bats, and then they fought each other, and then at the end of the fight, the one hurries up and turns human, grabs the bat, and goes "Fwing."
Threw into a garage door.
That's just not the nicest thing to do. That's really mean.
Yeah. Well,
But it was so funny to watch. I was just like, I can't with this. I can't with this. It's too funny. Like, I really recommend this movie. I recommend it pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
I think, honestly, it's probably my favorite thing that I've seen Taika Waititi do. Ragnarok was amazing, perfect, great, loved it. This one makes my heart happy.
That's the thing. Are there any real like negatives? I mean, maybe it's a little bit dark.
It's a little
bit hard
slow.
to see.
The only thing is that it's not an American paced movie where American movies just, go right at it. And this one's more build. This one's more world building, more environment kind of movie. And
well, I mean, it's found footage, so it's like not found footage.
Well, not found,
what I mean?
documentary
it's
style. It's documentary style, so you definitely do have a different, slower, more thoughtful pace, more deliberate pace than you would in a action blockbuster kind of thing. It's not the same pace at all, but it is a very good movie. It's very witty. It's very funny. I love everybody, and I just recommend it really hard. You need to see this movie. It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that was our first week in June.
Like, it's so good. There's nothing really that you can say negatively about it because it's just fucking funny. It's just
solid.
killer the whole time.
It's a solid movie.
What's your favorite part, Daphne? What's your
Jermaine Clement is the fucking cat. That 2-second split, you can't even look at it.
The
for so
violins
long.
are just shrieking,
and
then there's Jermaine going.
I almost broke a lung. The first time I saw that scene, I cackled. I mean, oh my god.
It's because you don't know what's coming.
You don't expect it. He just opens the door.
That's the thing.
And that's it.
They set it up, though. They say, back in the day, he used to do all this mass charming of everyone.
Yeah.
And he could do all of these things, but now that he has
this crisis of self-confidence.
Yeah. So they set it up, and you forget about it just long enough.
Well, that whole scene is really good because they're chasing through the house, and so the house is really creepy, and then they're like in the ceiling, like,
and the camera's following around.
And you can tell that they're on fucking wires. It looks ridiculous. But it's so good.
No,
it's great. It's so
honestly,
great.
my moment of wow in this film is the part where the werewolves start changing, right? And even the cameramen have to start running. And then the camera falls, and then the cameraman falls, and then gets dragged away. And I was like, oh no! You guys protected against the vampires, but not against the werewolves.
Well, apparently you can't quite protect against that. It was unexpected.
Yeah, I was like, oh no.
Yeah. One of the cameramen did not make it out. Yes.
And then that's another thing. They were like, you brought cameramen into our secret society. What is going on? And you got to think about that.
Right.
You brought
Well,
cameramen.
you get lost into it. Like, you kind of forget that it's...
But they're there.
Well, it's kind of like the
it's
difference
also
between
zombies.
meta.
It's very meta.
also zombies. You brought them in to zombies and werewolves.
There's zombies there and werewolves there, and vampires.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they're protected from vampires. That's not good enough. Not for a zombie and vampire bash.
That's how come Stu's a werewolf now, because you brought him into this. All right.
Okay.
All right. So, overall opinion, Taika Waititi, top fucking
it's
tier.
So good. Yeah.
Man's great.
I mean, there's nothing really to say bad about it. Like, it's just that good.
It's great.
It's a very, unless you don't like that particular type
Unless
of
you don't
film,
like slow or documentary. It is, yes.
Because it does take a second to, like, get into the characters because it's just so weird.
They have to introduce, they're three completely different people from three different time periods. Like, they're totally different people.
They're three different levels of vampire, but they all live together in this apartment, and this is how they interact, and this is how they do, and it's really good. Just really good movie.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So we'll be back next week.
Yes, next week.
Yeah, this month we're not doing a theme. We will come back with something.
Well, because we don't want to do themes like every single month. Like, it helps us think of movies,
like,
but I also
debated,
don't
but like we don't want to be like, oh well, this time it's Vampire Month. Oh well, this time it's You know,
right. Because that can get boring.
Yeah,
you know? So
yeah. We want to mix it up a little. We do have plans for July.
Kind of.
America.
Kind of.
So yeah, we're gonna do some things in July. Also, I found out Harrison Ford's birthday is July 13th, and we'll be filming on July 13th. So I've got plans.
I hope it's your week, because
I hope it is too, because otherwise these guys, they might fight me.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So no, we'll see you next week. Thank you for being here. Leave us a comment below and like us and subscribe us, and we will be here every week. We will be here.
Like us and subscribe us.
Like us and subscribe us. You know how it is. So
is that our jingle?
That's our jingle.
Like us and subscribe us. Oh god.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching us. Thank you for enjoying our talks, whatever, and definitely see this movie. It's freaking phenomenal.
Okay.
Definitely. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.